Hello, everyone. Welcome to Inspired Aspirations. My name is Philip Baker, and I'm joined today by Gretchen Ehrlichman. Say hi, Gretchen.
Hello.
So today we're running towards the end of June. Pretty soon, men and women across the country will be going off to start formation as religious sisters, brothers, monks, nuns. Seminaries will be kicking back up again, God willing. You know, who knows what will happen with quarantine and all that. By the grace of God, I anticipate entering formation with the Dominican friars in July, and Gretchen will be going off to do a live-in with the Dominican sisters in New Haven. So like a lot of things are coming to a head at this point, and we thought in light of this, well, perhaps people are wondering like, what are we doing now? Kind of in preparation for this drastic change that will be coming upon us in very shortly. So I guess, Gretchen, what have you been doing to prepare for, you're living with the monastery, and just kind of like monastic life in general? What have both the nuns advised you to do, and what are things that you have found it appropriate and prudent to do?
Yeah, so this is a big question, right? And I've been, as I've continued discerning, I've been, talking to the novice mistress at the monastery and just asking, how can I prepare? How can I, learn these different kinds of practices or virtues that are kind of worked towards in the monastic life? And one of her biggest responses was, you just have to live it in order to know it, right? And so I do have to go there and do my live-in August in order to kind of know how they live that life. But there have been some small things that she has told me, that I could do to help myself kind of learn that way of life. And so one of them was I had inquired about how to kind of learn the practice of silence and solitude. And one of her suggestions was to find time to deliberately go somewhere and just be in prayer, be in recollection, be with the Lord, and to do it in a way that like your mind is turned towards the Lord and you're just kind of away from the busyness, right? And actually, quarantine has kind of helped with that.
I imagine
it's forcibly in solitude, but I think that I still need to continue to go back to that and to find moments where I say, okay, I'm just going to take a few minutes to be with the Lord, to be in prayer. And so that's one of the things I've been doing to try and prepare for the monastic life of the cloister. And then silence too, is realizing like I have to take some time, maybe just, even though, my roommates might be around or I could call someone on the phone, to take that time to maybe read a spiritual book, or to take that time to, slowly pray the rosary and think about different mysteries in an intense way that maybe I hadn't before. So that was one of those things. And another thing is I've been reading many books that like throughout history that have, either are in English or have been translated into English, that were presented as kind of like conferences to like cloister communities, by priests or, by spiritual directors or something like that. So like collections of books that actually were designed as conferences to cloistered nuns to talk about how their way of life particularly helps them to grow spiritually, in the particular vocation that they've been called to. So kind of learning about monastic life that way to kind of prepare myself to experience it when I go to the living.
I don't think there's anything I could say to follow that up that like would be anywhere near as cool as what you just said. That's wow. Like I would not have. Where do you find like books like that? Where do you find those conferences?
Sister Maria, she's like, read this and read this and read this. And I have to say the novice mistress at the Monastery of Our Lady of Grace she's amazing at really giving you the materials you need to answer your questions and, to prepare your heart and your mind for that kind of experience. But as she says, you don't know truly what it is until you live it.
Yeah. I think that's been a lot of the advice I've been getting from friars as well, is like, and I remember one of our classmates who's preparing to be a Carthusian, like they told him after he had done living with him, like they said like, hey, don't try and live this way of life out in the world. It won't work.
Yeah.
And it's been the same kind of thing. Like I have no idea what religious life is going to look like until I'm in it. So like, how can I prepare for it now? There's a couple of things like so one of the things that the friars do, and that the nuns do as well, and that all clergy and I think all religious do, is you pray the liturgy of the hours. And, so it was advised like, hey, get into that practice now. So when you get to, the religious house, it's not a completely new thing to you. You at least know how the liturgy of the hours go. And now you're just figuring out how to pray it with other people. So to like making a holy hour, praying a daily rosary, like getting into some of these habits now that are just like good things to do. A lot of things are going to change during religious life. So it's like the less, the more you can be ready, the more I can be ready for some of those things going in, the better off then, the better that would be, so that it's not a complete change. There's a lot of other like little practicals to look to. So a couple of weeks ago, I got like a 6-page letter from the novice master detailing like a lot of like little things as well that I wouldn't have thought about. Like, so here's kind of an idea of what things to bring. Like, here's more information about the rosary that you're going to need, what kind of shoes you need to pack, and information about like religious names, right? So, to begin praying about that, and like, here's kind of some of the tradition around that. And so there are some things I thought about, but like still way more things that I had not thought about. And my experience has been throughout all of this that like, though, the novice masters are really good about answering a lot of the questions that I had no idea that I had.
Yeah, I also received my clothing list for my aspirancy, and I was like, okay, I gotta have my long skirts, and I have to have a sweater if it gets cold, and just these things, as you said, like that you don't really think about, like one pair of shoes to wear like around the monastery and to church and things, and then like I have to bring a pair of sneakers obviously if I'm doing work, and then like I'll have to be wearing skirts, so like I'll have skirts for every day, but then like bring one skirt that's like a work skirt, in case like you have to do some housework or do something that's kind of like dirtier, and like just very practical things of life, but things of a nature that you don't really think about those things when you're like packing up to see your family or to like go to the beach or whatever.
Right.
They're just kind of just ways of entering into the life, like not even just preparing your mind and preparing kind of your routine, but also like preparing isn't like what are you supposed to wear when you do this, what are you going to look like, things like that.
And what I found is that I think a lot of it with, as regards packing is like, hey, you need less than you think you do. And I think it was like, bring 2 suitcases. Like everything you need will be able to fit within 2 suitcases. And like, that sounds perfectly like if I'm going on like a, 4-week vacation, like sure, 2 suitcases, fine. But when you think about like, no, this is like the rest of your life, God willing, like 2 suitcases seems like so little, but also we don't need all that much. I mean, that's, I think, is what's been really cool about this is that kind of like unsparing way of being able to pare things down, and to a certain extent, I guess that's comparable to relationships. But, it's something that my vocations director told me was, I asked him like, hey, what did you do like in the time leading up to university? He's like, I just really kind of spent time with friends and family and like soak that in a little bit. So that there's also a little bit like, for me at least, been trying to soak in some of like the moment that I'm in. And at the same time that I'm like, I really just like want to be in like yesterday, recognizing that God wants me to be where I am now. So to not wish away that time.
Yeah. And this kind of, realizing what you're going to take with you is kind of like an outward sign of your inward surrender, right? Because it's like, wow, like I can leave so many things, for Christ, and he's going to satisfy me. And so, and that's what we're doing, right? We're trying to enter into what we feel God is calling us to, which is kind of a life of more intimate surrender to him, in which we walk away from a lot of other beautiful things, but things that, are not part of our vocation.
Yeah, I think that's probably about all we have time for right now, but I don't know how to do the sign off, Gretchen. Will you do it?
Well, thank you for joining us on Inspired Aspirations. Phillip is thrilled that you've joined us today. Please join us next time, and please feel free to to share this with anyone you think might enjoy it or find it helpful. My name is Gretchen.
I'm Philip.
And don't forget to
think Catholic, speak Catholic, be Catholic. I can do that part.
God bless. Bye.
God bless.